Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We would also appreciate it if you take a quick minute and share this video feed. Share the video, like it, so that your friends can join in the conversation. Because we know if you like talking guns, I'm willing to bet that there's more than one person that you know that wouldn't mind talking guns either. I know you guys are like looking at my t-shirt and you're like, where can I get one of those? Now, admittedly, the actual saying is a little bit more, how shall we say, colorful. But what I like about this t-shirt is that I can wear this. I can wear this to church. I can wear this to school. I can wear this without anybody really other than people who are anti-gun getting offended. And it basically says, no one needs an AR-15. Well, no one needs a whiny little pansy either, but there you are. Or here you are. So, but it's really neat. I got this when I was at the Gun Rights Policy Conference. It was in Texas. It was actually a t-shirt that was available by Open Carry Texas. There's a link in the description of this video where you can find this t-shirt as well as some other really cool stuff. Now, a lot of the stuff there is, for Open Carry Texas. And if you're not in Texas, I get it. Not really going to help. But obviously, this is a t-shirt that is good no matter where you reside. Now, also want to remind you guys that the Calguns Foundation, organization that we work very, very closely with in terms of dealing with and addressing litigation, had a big-time victory yesterday. Yes, they did in Doe v. Becerra. If you go to the calgunsfoundation.org, then you'll have a chance to really kind of read the opinion, read the press release, talk a little bit about it. We're going to talk a little bit more about it next week. Here on Coffee, we'll talk about what that means going forward. Now, if we want them to have more of these fantastic victories, well, guess what? We need to support them. We need to support the Calguns Foundation. And we've made it very easy for you to support them. In fact, they are having a giveaway. Right? Now, this one is more dealing with the 10-day waiting period. They're fighting against the 10-day waiting period, and that right now is they're waiting to hear back from the Supreme Court. So we need your help, or they need your help. The Calguns Foundation and the Firearms Policy Coalition need your help in order to help advance that lawsuit. Here's what you do. It's real simple. You donate. You follow the link in the description to this video, and you donate. Now, if you donate, you're also going to be entered to win this Kimber Stainless Raptor 2. As you can see, it is a very attractive firearm. Now, you do not have to donate to enter, but you do have to enter to win. So whether or not you choose to donate, you still have to follow the link in order to be able to enter to win. But, while you're there, maybe you can, drop off a buck or two and let it help us to have another big victory in the fight for our constitutional rights. So let's get into today's topic. Now, you guys know that I'm on late, obviously, but that was because there was a committee hearing in the state of Washington that we wanted to make sure that we broadcast. And I know some of you are wondering, well, I don't live in Washington, so why is this important to me? Well, it's important because the topics that are being brought up are topics that are being discussed all over the country, in state houses, in Washington, D.C. These are two topics that are starting to become more and more prevalent. And I want you to see this because these bills are being introduced everywhere. And I'm saying that because I want you to see that there's a pattern, right? There's a pattern that's going on here, and it's a pattern that we need to be conscious of. Now, the two measures that were discussed in the state of Washington, one of them we'll talk about is bump fire stocks. This was SB 5992. Now, this was a measure that passed out. We actually broadcast when it was before the Senate the Senate Law and Justice Committee. It was interesting because there was an attempt in the Senate Law and Justice Committee to actually define what is specifically a bump stock is. Most of our issues, a big part of our issues with the legislation that's been introduced everywhere else is that the definition of a trigger activation device was so broad that it included everything, including rubber bands, hair scrunchies, belt loops. It included aftermarket triggers, anything that would potentially increase the rate of fire for a firearm. What these amendments did was it more narrowed it to specifically define what a bump stock was, and quite frankly was probably the most accurate definition of a bump stock that I've seen in any of these bills. Now, mind you, we still oppose the bill because we still believe that banning firearms or banning firearm accessories does not solve the problem and only limits the rights of law-abiding citizens. In this case, those folks who through disability are prohibited, or at least are restricted in their ability to utilize these firearms, because without a bump stock, they're once again, their ability to utilize these firearms is relatively limited. But having said that, once again, it was still a better definition than what had been put forward. So what was interesting about it was that even though the Committee on Law and Justice voted down the amendments, on the floor of the actual Senate, they actually put those amendments in, which raises the question, well, what do you guys really want? It tells me that there is definitely a contingent of folks whose desire it is not just to ban bump stocks, but to ban firearms, firearm accessories, who, if they could, would simply ban semi-automatic firearms, period. I also wonder, in one of my questions, and I think one of the folks who testified, one of the points that he brought up was I thought a valid one. These weapons basically have very little control. The ones with the bump stocks, or at least they have less control than a semi-automatic rifle without a bump stock. Meaning there's increased accuracy without a bump stock. The question here is that do you want someone with a semi-automatic rifle having very, very good accuracy, or would you rather have someone who is just randomly firing? I don't know, but all I know is that I don't think that a bump stock necessarily does everything, or is what they believe it is, which is, once again, the whole issue with the whole bump stock discussion anyway. So anyway, the bill was heard in committee. At least they had testimony on the committee. One of the other interesting things is that the chair of the committee actually decided that they were going to limit debate and discussion. So they only allowed one panel for it and one panel against it. And they didn't even really single out and make sure that the people who were testifying were actually experts in that particular area or knowledgeable in regards to the legislation. I guess it was just the first group of people that got their name on the list. You were the ones who got to testify. And while I'm all for the people being able to be heard, I don't understand how you can have full and open, honest policy discussion when you are at the same time limiting debate. That's not an full and open policy discussion. That's not a public process. It basically amounts to nothing more than kabuki theater. In other words, we've made up our minds. We really don't want to hear from you. I guess that's how they roll in Washington State. I know that's how they roll here in the state of California, at least in our public safety committees, or at least I'll say this. I will give Reggie Jones-Sawyer, Assemblyman Reggie Jones-Sawyer, this. At least he has worked with us to try and make sure that we all get an opportunity to have our say. Nancy Skinner in the Senate, the chair of the Senate Public Safety Committee here in California, well, let's just say that she doesn't want to hear from anyone who might present an opinion other than that which she espouses. So she's not interested in open policy discussion. She just wants to shut them down. Now, the other item that was discussed was Senate Bill 55, I think it's 5533 or 5553. That's it. Now, this is a bill that would allow individuals to voluntarily have their names added to a no-buy list for firearms. Now the Washington bill would require you to go into a government office. You go in, you'd fill out the form, you'd have your name added to the list. By the end of the day, your name has to be added to the list. And then let's say that crisis passes. This is once again, this is for people who maybe feel like they're at risk for suicide or something, or a danger to others. Or maybe they're having a psychotic break or something along those lines. At the same time, 7 days after, now you have to wait at least 7 days, then you can go back into that same office and petition to have your name removed from the list. Now, there's a bill that's very similar to this that was introduced in California. Now, the California version of the bill actually has an online form. So in other words, you just go to a website and you enter in your information. And then your name is added to the list. And then to get off the list, you actually have to go to court and prove that you are not a danger to yourself or others. Meaning that it's really easy for someone to get on the list. Even for someone else to put you on the list, all they have to do is get the requisite information. All they have to do is have the right information on you, and someone else can go in anonymously and add your name to the list, and you don't even know it. And then you have to go to court, and you are now guilty until proven innocent. You have to go to court and prove that you're no longer a danger to yourself or others. California version, very, very bad. Washington version, and I get it. I think some of the people who testified do point out where there's a room for abuse, as there's room for abuse in just about any law. There's a number of folks who pointed out how really unnecessary it probably is. But once again, I will at least say this. And once again, I don't know that the Washington bill is supportable, but at the very least, it represents a more reasonable attempt to try and address or fix a problem. So it was interesting. I encourage you guys. There's a link where you can go and you can watch the live feed. You can watch the testimony on both of these bills and judge for yourself. Anyway, I say this because, once again, bump stock, you guys have heard bump stock legislation all over the country. It's actually already in place now in 2 states and is moving forward in many more. This voluntary registration, as you see, it's been introduced in California. It's now been introduced in Washington, and you're going to see it probably in other states. Now, this stuff doesn't just this is proof that this stuff is not just coming out of the air. Right? We're already looking at, there's going to be a hearing, not a hearing, but there's going to be a Facebook live thing. A couple of California legislators are doing a press conference today to talk about firearm legislation that they either have introduced or will be introducing. Once again, this stuff is not coming from nowhere. It's coming from Everytown. It's coming from the Brady campaign. It's coming from multi-billionaire left-wing gun-grabbing Michael Bloomberg. He is behind all of this. Everytown is behind all of this. Because let's just be real. Most of these folks are not bright enough to come up with these ideas themselves. They're not. They're just not. I don't give them that much credit. So anyway, I encourage you guys, tune in. We're going to try and broadcast the live feed and then maybe do some commentary on it over the weekend. But we're going to try and broadcast the live feed and let you guys see what they're up to so that you guys know what's going on in the fight. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today. I want to encourage you guys, once again, please take a moment, like this video. Please share this video. Also, if you have not subscribed, or if you have not liked our Facebook page, or if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please get her done. Get on there. Let's get it done. Because here's the thing, folks. You know that Facebook would love to shut us up. You know that YouTube would love to shut us up. You know they don't want our message to get out. So let's make sure that they can't keep it from getting out. The one way they cannot keep it from getting out is if we are active and we are vocal. If we're all working together to get the word out, if we're sharing it with our friends and they're sharing it with their friends, we cannot be stopped. The only thing that is stopping you from hitting that little subscribe button, share button, is you. So don't waste any more time. Let's get her done. Let's get the word out. Let's encourage people, everybody, all of our friends, all of our family, all of our followers via social media to become a part of the fight for civil rights. Because as you know, we got to use them or we're going to lose them. Cheers.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.